What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bucco Territory, presented to you by the Foul Territory Network. I'm Noah Hiles, and joining me, as always, are my two co-hosts, Josh Harrison, a.k.a. Jay Hay, and Platinum Key, a.k.a. Mark. Fellas, first team workout today. We're recording this on February 16th, so pitchers and catchers, they're not alone now. Everybody else is there. Our first spring training game, Grapefruit League action, I should say, with the Pittsburgh Pirates is on Saturday. So it's getting real. It's getting exciting. We're going to have actual baseball to talk about, not just hypothetical moves or reacting to signings. I'm sure we'll still have a couple of those shows as well. But, we're going to talk about what everything seems to be going on down in Bradenton. In today's show, we're just going to focus on one thing: culture. That's the goal. That seems to be the focus in Bradenton with the Pirates. Just reading the coverage from the Post-Gazette, my coworkers Jason Mackey and Colin Beasley, who are down there. It seems like Don Kelly has been doing a lot to implement culture. And we're going to talk about the different ways that they're going about that. So let me outline it real quick on how many different ways it seems like they are trying to build a winning culture, because winning culture isn't just responsible for one thing. You can't just have a great coach. You can't just have a great veteran leader. You can't just have a good collective mindset or a good assistant staff or any of those things. It's a little bit of all of it. And you look at what this offseason has been, it has been an overhaul of the coaching staff. It has been a whole bunch of veteran additions to the lineup. It has been bringing back some guys who have won in Pittsburgh to maybe give a little something of advice and guidance in spring training. And it's been the man at the top leading the charge with all of that rhetoric. So we're going to get into that now. I want to start by asking Josh, when you hear winning culture, what comes to mind? Who are some people that you look back at your career and you think, these were the guys that established the winning cultures that I was a part of?
It's hard to overlook those years that I was, early part of my career, 13 through 15, when we were to make those runs. And it's hard to not mention guys like, AJ Burnett, Russ Martin, Clint Barmas. Within that, you had guys that, didn't spend as much time, but were still impactful. Ramos Ramirez, Justin Morneau. You had arms like John Axford that has showed up at times. I'm trying to think of some other arms that I can't really think of all of them at the time at the time right now. But those are guys that were able to come from other places that they won and have a blend of myself, Kutch, Neil Walker, Pedro, some young guys that had tasted a little bit of personal success, but not necessarily team success at the major league level. And they were able to not necessarily come in and change anything. They were able to just show a way about going about business. And it wasn't anything that shook us, but it was something that we took notice to, and it just made us that much more confident and impactful as a team. Because when you got guys that have been other places, that have won World Series, that have been to the playoffs, there's something about experiencing that when you haven't, you're going to listen to the people that have been there and try to pick their brains, and not only pick their brains, but also try to emulate any work habits or things on and off the field that they do, because it all ties together.
Yeah, I want to ask one more question for you, Josh, and then I'll let Mark ask one. When you're a young impressionable player, you talked about being around guys who have done it. I mean, the Pirates in past years, they've talked about how they brought in guys who were a part of World Series winning teams, but a lot of them, they're coming in on 1-year deals. They know that if the team doesn't perform, they're getting shipped away at the deadline. Whereas now, I mean, sure, Brandon Lau's a free agent at the end of the year, but they paid a price to get Brandon Lau, more than just a couple $1,000,000. And Ozuna, same thing. And Ryan O'Hearn has been a part of some winning teams, and he's here for multiple years. When you see guys coming in that are in their prime, as opposed to dudes who, are on the very far end of the back nine, does that make a difference when you're seeing a guy that's like, all right, well, this isn't a guy who's just going to be telling me how it's done. This is a guy who's going to be, he's going to be picking up a shovel and helping us dig.
For sure, because I mean, we all know the whole thing. actions speak louder than words. And, guys can come in and speak and say, I'm gonna do this. But as you said, have guys come in that were in their prime, not only were they able to speak, which is gonna hold weight, but when you actually saw their actions behind it, oh man, this dude's in the weight room, this dude is, you know, out there early, he's studying film. Oh dang, he's not pitching today, but he's on the dugout, out in the dugout and he's locked in on every pitch. These are things that change, not only a person's mindset, a team's mindset. Because all it takes is one person to be that contagious. A team is only as strong as their weakest individual. You can have everybody here, but if that one weak link is pulling the team down, that could be the difference in winning a 3-game series, which could take you to the playoffs. And those are moments that don't necessarily show up in a stat sheet, but those are moments that show up within a clubhouse for guys that have experienced it to say, oh yeah, man, I learned a lot about my pregame routine from watching this guy, or my postgame routine from watching this guy, or you know what, I learned how to take my lumps and my struggles from this guy. There are things that guy, it's not all about good things. Hey, what did you do when you struggled? Oh man, I had somebody tell me find a way to get away from the game. And somebody's like, really? Yeah. Sometimes you just need to find a way to reset,
Yep.
do what makes you happy. That way, when you come back tomorrow, you're right back at it.
Mhm.
Because this game ain't going nowhere. But the ones that can separate it, and I'm like, oh man, that's something that I'm always share with somebody. And those are things that change the culture. Changes, winning solves everything.
Yeah. So I'll ask a question kind of based off of that for you, Josh. How much of the culture stems from your manager, and you've played for a number of different managers, but how much of that is coming from the locker room? Is it obviously it's a mixture, but what would you say has a bigger impact? Was it your teammates? Was it your manager? Other coaches in the dugout? Who was it for you?
Um, honestly, a little bit of both, because every team, every organization is going to be run differently in certain areas. But when we were there, Clint did a great job of allowing the clubhouse to be ours. But I think at the same time, it was also a different landscape that Pittsburgh was under, where now you got AJ Burnett, you got Russ Martin,
Yeah.
you got some veterans that you can't necessarily just, all right, guys, because they've been places, and at the same
Guys you can
time,
trust. Yeah.
you understand they know how to go about their business. So almost leaving that clubhouse to be run by the guys, because ultimately that's what it should be. Coaches and managers aren't there to babysit. It's a clubhouse full of grown men. Obviously the game's getting younger, but at the same time, there's a way to go about business and to be accountable. And being able to be in a clubhouse where one, you got, now it's 26 guys, you need a clubhouse full of 26 individuals, and a clubhouse where all 26 of those guys can be themselves. That doesn't mean everybody's going to get along all the time, but
Mhm.
that means I know you, we know each other, we know what ticks us, but at the end of the day, we spend 8 months together. Those clubhouses that have been through ups and downs are the ones that are going to ride the wave, because the clubhouse literally is theirs. It's not being micromanaged, and it shows on the field, because that's where you see those teams that know how to come back from those one-run ball games, or they hold tight in those close games, because hey, they understand tight quarters and playing for the guy right and left of you.
Mhm.
We've got more questions for Josh on this and just more culture talk in general. But before we do, we're going to take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsor.
All right, we got the Warby Parkers. I got the Raiders. But one thing I upgraded to, polarized. Sorry about it.
Yeah, these are good, not only for wearing, but also out in the sun. When I become that baseball coach, I always want to be with my kids. I got the Hatchers. They're darker, a little bit wider for my face. They fit perfect. They're comfortable. It's an easy process to order these really, really cool glasses.
I am a diehard Warby Parker fan. I do have prescription glasses, and I wear Warby Parker every day for many years. I'm excited about this one. Give it a shot. Warby Parker gives you quality and better looking prescription eyewear at a fraction of the going price. Our listeners get 15% off plus free shipping when they buy 2 or more pairs of prescription glasses at warbyparker.com/foul. That's 15% off when you buy 2 pairs of glasses at warbyparker.com/foul. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them Foul Territory sent you.
So, Josh, I texted you about it this morning, and your reaction was fun. And even talking about it before we recorded, AJ Burnett, has been in Bradenton for a little bit, as like a consultant, just an advisor, whatever title you want to throw. I mean, you see this frequently with a lot of teams, and candidly, I don't think the Pirates did this enough under Derek Shelton. And I was happy to see Batman get the call to go down to spring training. What does a guy like AJ Burnett provide? And I would like for you to start by answering this by, what do you remember about the impact that AJ Burnett brought to the clubhouse as a player his first few years there? And then what do you think that impact could be like in this role that he's in now as a retired old guy?
AJ, that's my dog, man. We were just texting earlier today. But when AJ first came over, I was a young dude. I was, in my locker, in my seat. And I can remember AJ brought over a sense of, being confident, but also to stand up and speak for yourself. Because I saw him, it was more so with the pitchers. He would challenge them, but not in a bad way, almost of like, man, take control of what you want to do. Don't let the coaches or anybody else tell you what you should do. Like own it. And you would see guys like, James McDonald, Jeff Locke, guys that had success. It wasn't that, AJ did, it was just they were literally by AJ's side. And I'll be honest, he like had them right and left, and, they picking his brain. And, he's might be, one guy look like, man, he's tough on him, but he's like, no, he's showing them like, no, bro, you got to be able to do this for yourself, And what he brung over was a sense of freedom. There were a lot of guys that felt that they were playing more so trying to do what was told, as opposed to, man, go out there and be yourself. Because, you see AJ out there, I'm not going to say the words, but we all know the acronym of what he would do when he would strike somebody out.
Yep.
Like the whole stadium would go crazy, and to everybody like, oh man, that's crazy. But that's also the freedom of AJ saying, man, I'm a dog, I'm a competitor. So that freedom of what he brought to the clubhouse was, man, I don't care what you got going on. We're going to be dogs. We're going to be competitors. Our team fed off of that. And not everybody needed that push, but to those that did, Jeff Locke was a very quiet guy, but I think he was able to, feed off of AJ and understand. He learned how to pitch being around AJ. Jeff Locke was my roommate when I first got traded to the Pirates. So I know Jeff, that was my guy. And AJ was on Jeff, but at the same time, it was something that as a player, you're gonna, that's AJ Burnett. Jeff's like, okay, he sees something in me. And that's honestly where you would see it transferred over to the position players, because we didn't have AJ Burnett on the position side, but you had Clint Barmas, you had Russ Martin, we ended up getting Marlon Byrd. Then obviously you had Kutch, who was established, but Kutch in himself was still an up and coming, young guy that didn't experience a winning team at the major leagues, because when he came up, they weren't winning. And I think it was able to take a little pressure off of Kutch on the position side, because it was like, man, the position players we got, and knowing that AJ was able to kind of help with the pitchers and kind of mold that, I think that just allowed our team to say, you got a guy like AJ Burnett telling everybody to sit the F down, we fed off of that. And, shirts got made, and the rest is history.
So what does that mean for him in this role? And we're going to get to talk to AJ. We anticipate him being on our next episode. So a little tease there for all of our listening audience, something to look forward to. But I mean, what is the value? And did you guys have any veteran instructors come back when you were in Pittsburgh, or even for other teams? What is the value in having like a guy like that come back in spring training today?
Man, it's super cool when you get to see guys come back and, share their knowledge, but not only that, just to be back around the game. When you retire, you get pulled in different directions, having a wife, having kids, trying to catch up on time that you may have missed. So when they come to spring training, that's an opportunity that I know is refreshing for them. But you hit on it early, with culture shift, culture being the big talk of this, today being the first workout of full team. You always start with a team meeting where the pitchers and catchers have already had theirs. But once everybody's together, you have that team meeting where you're talking about the team goals for the season, the identity you want to have. So for him to be there at this part of spring training, I think sends a message to the guys, not only about the culture shift that they want, but also bringing guys that was able to bring a culture shift themselves to Pittsburgh. Playing in New York, playing in Toronto, playing in Miami, playing in different places. But he also understands how, prideful and how important Pittsburgh is, because I think I hit on it before. He, went to Philly and came back to Pittsburgh. So that's a guy right there that, Pittsburgh holds a special place in his heart. And he could probably tell you that. But for everything that you're trying to speak an identity and want that culture to be about, we're going to be out there and we're going to be dogs. I think he's a great representation of what you want to have there at the beginning.
Yeah, and I absolutely loved what Don Kelly, the reporting out of his initial team meeting today. He focused on Pittsburgh and how the players have a unique opportunity, and bringing in a guy like AJ was the perfect idea for Don Kelly to exemplify that to them, showing, hey, this guy's still a legend in the city. And AJ mentioned that he's like, we didn't accomplish all of our goals. But,
no, we didn't.
We went and worked our butts off, and the player or the city and the fans recognize that. This is a city where you can become a legend if you just win. And they really have that opportunity for the first time here. And so I loved that was the focus from Don Kelly today, and that he invited a guy like AJ to come in and help spread that message and show how much winning means in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, for sure, especially... Not to cut you off, I was just going to say, especially with the moves that they made. I was just going to say, with the moves that they made, you don't want it to be what has been in the past. You have to pretty much not necessarily recreate an identity, but say, hey, let's create a culture here that is going to move forward with what we got.
Exactly.
What do they got to do to get you down there, Josh? Would you go if they invited you?
They got to give me a call. My phone works.
Get my man
my
down
phone
there.
Works. I'm not opposed. My phone works.
All right. There we go. That's the clip for social media.
Yeah.
So there you go. Pirates, make the call. Get number 5 back in Bradenton. Want to remind everyone listening and watching to hit that subscribe button if you have not already. We're on a mission to 3,000 subs, and we can't get there without your help. Also want to remind everyone to check out our store, our show store, the Bucco Territory store, where you can get a whole bunch of great merch. Look at that. Hoodies.
They sent us some shirts, pretty high quality too.
High quality stuff, yes. Yeah. I mean, we've worn them on the podcast before. The gym
stuff.
bag,
yeah.
Bucco Territory.
I got the hat on. Is the hat on there?
Yeah, there's the hat right there.
I was gonna say, I'll show them. I got the hat. Or no, I'm sorry, that was foul territory.
It's all right. Hey, you can
territory, but hey, appreciate the opportunity.
Still a foul territory shop as well.
Yes.
That's like, you're not showing your Pirates hat, you're showing your MLB hat. That's what you just did there. It's all going to the same place. No, but guys, any final thoughts before we wrap up today?
Excited to see where the culture shift, but as we're getting close to these grapefruit games coming up, this is always an exciting time when you got full squad together. That's where you want to bring the energy, and that's where you start to really come together, cohesiveness as a team. There's no longer pitchers and catchers report. Everything is together. So I'm excited to see where they go starting this first week and, building towards, heading up north.
I'm loving the winning mindset, the culture shift, and the buy-in that we're getting from players in the interviews. It seems like it's not just one person saying it. It's a lot of 26 guys that all believe in the same message. So excited to see where that leads this year.
Absolutely. Well, he's Mark, a.k.a. Platinum Key. He's Josh Harrison, a.k.a. Jay Hay. I'm Noah Hiles, signing off saying thanks for tuning in to another episode of Bucco Territory, presented to you by the Foul Territory Network.